Today, we're diving deep into one of the most controversial and powerful figures in modern history, Adolf Hitler. His story is a mix of ambition, power, destruction, and tragedy. Let's uncover how a single man's vision reshaped the world and led to unimaginable consequences. Adolf Hitler was born on April 20, 1889, in Braunheim, a small town in Austria, near the German border. His father, Alois Hitler, was a strict customs officer, while his mother, Clara, was gentle and deeply loved her son. As a child, Hitler was quiet but moody, often clashing with his father's authority. He dreamed of becoming an artist, spending hours drawing and painting. But his father wanted him to join the government, which caused constant tension at home. When Hitler was a teenager, his father passed away, and then a few years later, his mother also died from cancer. These losses deeply affected him. After that, he moved to Vienna, hoping to get accepted into the Academy of Fine Arts. But life didn't go as planned. He was rejected, not once, but twice, by the Art Academy. He ended up living in poor conditions, selling paintings on the street to survive. During this period, he developed many of the extreme political and racial ideas that would later define his rule. He blamed Jews, Marxists, and others for his failures and for the problems he saw in society. In 1913, Hitler moved to Munich, Germany. When World War I began the following year, he enlisted in the German army. He served as a messenger on the front lines, showing bravery under fire. The war gave his life purpose again. He was wounded and temporarily blinded by gas near the end of the war. When Germany surrendered in 1918, Hitler was devastated. He couldn't accept that his country had lost, and he grew to believe that it was betrayed from within. That belief, the idea of a stab in the back, became one of his lifelong obsessions. After the war, Germany was in chaos. Inflation was high, unemployment was everywhere, and people were desperate for direction. In this environment, Hitler found his opportunity. He joined a small political group called the German Workers' Party, which later became the National Socialist German Workers' Party, the Nazi Party. Hitler quickly rose to power within the group thanks to his powerful speeches, charisma, and ability to tap into people's anger and hopelessness. He promised to restore Germany's greatness, rebuild the economy, and give the people someone to blame, mainly Jews and communists. By the early 1920s, the Nazi movement was growing fast. In 1923, Hitler and his followers tried to seize power in what became known as the Beer Hall Putsch, an attempted coup in Munich. It failed, and Hitler was arrested. But even from prison, he turned defeat into opportunity. During his 9 months behind bars, he wrote Mein Kampf, meaning My Struggle, a book that laid out his beliefs about race, politics, and Germany's future. It was filled with dangerous ideas about Aryan supremacy and anti-Semitism. When he got out of prison, Hitler changed his strategy. Instead of using violence, he decided to gain power through politics. By using clever propaganda, fiery speeches, and promises of national revival, he slowly gained public support. Germany's economic crisis after the Great Depression helped him even more. People were desperate, hungry, and angry. By 1933, Adolf Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany. Within a year, he eliminated all political opposition, turned the country into a totalitarian dictatorship, and gave himself absolute control. Under Hitler's rule, Germany transformed rapidly. He rebuilt the military, created jobs through massive construction projects like the Autobahn, and revived national pride. But behind that apparent success was a dark agenda. The Nazi government began persecuting Jews, political opponents, and anyone considered inferior. Propaganda painted Hitler as Germany's savior, and the people followed him with fanatical devotion. By 1939, Hitler's ambitions had grown beyond Germany's borders. He wanted to expand his empire and believed Germans needed more living space, what he called Lebensraum. He invaded Poland on September 1, 1939, triggering World War II. In just a few years, Nazi Germany conquered much of Europe. Hitler seemed unstoppable. But his arrogance and obsession with domination led him to make fatal mistakes, especially invading the Soviet Union and declaring war on the United States. The tide of war began to turn against him. As the Allies closed in, Germany faced devastating bombings, starvation, and loss. Millions of innocent lives were destroyed. The Holocaust, Hitler's genocide against 6 million Jews and millions of others, became one of the darkest chapters in human history. His vision of a pure world ended in horror. By 1945, Hitler's empire was collapsing. Soviet forces surrounded Berlin. Refusing to surrender, Hitler hid in an underground bunker with his closest followers. On April 30, 1945, realizing that defeat was inevitable, Hitler took his own life. His death marked the end of Nazi Germany and the beginning of the world's healing process. Adolf Hitler's story is one of how charisma, manipulation, and hate can rise when people are vulnerable and desperate. It shows how one man's obsession with power can destroy nations and cost millions of innocent lives. His legacy is not one of glory or greatness, it's a warning to the world about the dangers of dictatorship, blind loyalty, and prejudice. Today, we remember his story not to glorify it, but to learn from it, to ensure that history's darkest mistakes are never repeated. Because when fear and hate take control, humanity always loses. This was Battle Genius Mara, thanks for watching. If you found this story insightful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because more powerful stories from history are coming soon.